Welcome to another edition of the Dental Today podcast. Thank you for stopping by. This is brought to you by Lab Media TV. My name is Hezekiah Morales, and here we go. Remember to follow us on social media at Lab Media TV.
In today's episode, we will be speaking with Mr. Alexander Wunsche, president of Zahntechnique Dental Laboratory. Alexander completed a 4-year multidisciplinary program at the Otto Umfried School of Dental Technology and also attained accreditation as a CDT in Germany. He is also accredited as a CDT here in the United States. After graduation, he traveled and began working with high-end laboratories focused on implant and all ceramic restorations. Today, Alexander fabricates a wide variety of case types and also specializes in cosmetic and complex implant restorations. He has been published in dental journals such as Compendium, Inside Dental Technology, the Journal of Dental Technology, and Dental Management Today. Alexander speaks internationally regarding innovation in dental technology. He is also the president of the Florida Dental Laboratory Association.
Alex, welcome to the Dental Today podcast. How are you today?
Well, I'm fantastic, and thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Oh, thank you for opening your doors. This is very exciting. We actually wanted to come down here last year sometime. I sent you a message, and things were just crazy.
Things are blowing up.
But thankfully, we have the opportunity now.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
we drove down here to Miami, the beautiful Miami. This side is wonderful, and now we get to sit down. We met you in person because we had only spoken through, Instagram
And some text messages, right?
Excellent.
So
yeah. And actually this past February in LMT, it was just crazy. It was crazy.
I think it was one of the best shows I have ever been to be honest, over the last years, and one of the most busy ones actually.
Oh yeah. I felt the same way. There were a lot of dental professionals that I couldn't sit down and chat with because it was so busy. It was spectacular.
Yeah,
it really was. How was that show for you?
Like I mentioned already, the show was I think one of the best I have been over the last years, and I'm basically going to Lab Day in Chicago since I'm in the States, and so almost since 10 years now. And I think it was a spectacular show this year. It was very busy, I agree. I lectured a little bit less than the last 5 years, but I'm on purpose just to also get to enjoy the show a little bit more, but I felt actually evenly busy. So we had so many plans to meet up with so many friends, partners, companies, vendors, and I think we couldn't achieve 50% of it. It was just crazy.
You're right. It's so hard to be able to touch so many different relationships that we have from all over the world, really.
That is the point, and then we see definitely more and more people coming from all over the world, international people coming to the show, which is exciting to see. So many amazing companies are there. They're showing their products, and it's just it's an experience. I mean, if I wouldn't go 1 year to Lab Day in Chicago, I would miss something. It's kind of, what happened just now?
This year is incomplete. Right,
Yes.
absolutely. I agree 150% with you. But from Lab Day to now, a lot of things have certainly changed.
Did they? I think so. It's pretty crazy. So we came back from Lab Day in Chicago, and the world was just turning around 180 degrees. Everything was kind of down and done and locked, and that was quite a different experience all of a sudden. So also an experience I do not want to go through again, but I think also an eye-opener for many things.
That's very interesting. I'm really very interested in going into that, hearing a lot of your processes and how those things changed and how you adjusted, how you were able to scramble in a few things maybe. I'm very interested in that. But before we get into that, Alex, how did you get started in dental?
It's a great question. That's a cool story. So I was growing up or born and raised in Germany, and in the very south of Germany at the beautiful Lake Constance. It's to the border of Switzerland and Austria. And so I was actually born into a dental family. So my grandfather, he used to be a technician and then a dentist. After World War II, he then retrained to be a dentist. and he built a clinic in my city where I was born, in Friedrichshafen. And so they got multiple kids, basically, my dad, my uncles, and my aunt, and they all went to dental. So literally, my dad is a dentist, my 2 uncles are dentists, my cousin is a dentist, my other uncle is a dental technician with his own dental laboratory, basically. So I was growing up in the whole dental environment, and I was 3-4 years old, running to my grandpa's office, basically, or my dad's office. Then they worked all together in a clinic setting, 3 dentists together, basically. And then my uncle, who had the dental laboratory, he always had a bench for me. I could always play with wax and with stone as a kid, basically. It was fun. Wow. So dental was always very close to me. I couldn't imagine doing something else because I always had dental around me. And so when I was then growing up and I had my driver's license, and I did always kind of my school break jobs, kind of the part-time jobs, driving to the customers, driving the cases there. I did this from my uncle. So I started already working a little bit besides school. And then after school in Germany, after high school, I then thought about, well, what should we do? Well, I would like to be a dental technician. I never were interested in being a dentist. I always were so into the technical side, basically, because I was very artsy. I was drawing a lot. I was doing a lot of photography back then already. So I was always very, very creative, basically. So for me, it was kind of, all right, that's it. I want to be a dental technician. And then I started basically a education in my uncle's lab. In Germany, a dental technician education is quite different than here. Yeah, it's very, very different. So it's a 4-year curriculum. You go to school and to the laboratory. So the process is different than here. You actually apply for a job as an apprentice dental technician in a laboratory, and that laboratory has to send you to school. So you're usually 4, 5, 6 weeks in a laboratory working on cases, getting educated from the team there, and then you go for 4 weeks to school, full time. And in school you learn everything from anatomy over materials, physics, everything around dental, basically. So you get really a very, very good based foundation about what we're actually doing every day and the background. And that's, I think, is a difference to here, because here, if you go to dental technology school, it's between 18 and 20 months usually. It's a very short, full time. You don't have really a lot of practical experience. You have a laboratory in school where you do some kind of fantasy cases, I'm calling it, but you don't really work on real cases. You don't really work together in the laboratory besides the internship you have to do, which is very short in compare. So there are quite differences. Also, I see that we have a lot of students coming here when they're done and starting their career at Zahntechnique. The foundation is just missing. Not completely, but in compare to Germany or to the German-speaking European countries, they have a different foundation in dental knowledge, basically, because just they're around there for 4 years. And that's definitely a different setting and gives you a different kind of knowledge to your path, basically, to your career. And so I was experienced that and was very happy actually to be able to go through that. And after these 4 years, I worked with my uncle in his lab. He's a very similar size what we have here now at Zahntechnique, roughly 10 people, 10 employees. We were working in a very good team there, very close to my dad and my uncle. My grandfather had retired back then, and my uncle is an oral surgeon, my dad is a restorative GP, so we saw basically everything from implants to dentures to crown and bridge work, full service. So I could gain experience the whole spectrum. It was fantastic. And also very close to patients. So literally in my career back then, I saw almost every single patient we did work for, before and after. We did the shake consultations, then we did the work, and we were sometimes also there when the case got seated.
Wow.
And that's very, very valuable, you know, for a high quality result, basically. So that was very, very good to have that experience. After a while, I knew I want to see something else. So I went then to multiple different laboratories in Germany, in the area where I'm from, basically, just to get experience in more specialized things. So one more a full ceramic laboratory, one more a full implant specialized laboratory, basically. So I could gain really a lot of experience there and get trained on these different techniques. For me, and we maybe want to talk about this later too, for me always was important, I don't want to be just a specialist. I don't want to denounce specialists now, they're great, but I see dental in the future more like comprehensive, more like interdisciplinary. We have to know more than just ceramics or more than just acrylics. It doesn't work like this anymore. So my goal was to be a dental technician, not a ceramist, for example, or a dental guy. So I always want to be very well rounded and well educated about everything. And I think that also now pays back, that definitely helps nowadays. But anyway, so back then I went to different laboratories. I then founded my own laboratory, very small, very boutique-y, very high-end, very, very small team, just for certain customers, private patients usually. We did high aesthetic restorations, a lot of veneer restorations, a lot of implant restorations in the anterior area, basically. And but I always had that in my mind. I don't want to live forever in Germany. Germany is nice, but Germany is, for me, I never felt really comfortable in Germany, German environment, and a German personality. My wife Danielle always mentioned I'm the un-German German she knows. Friends for me tell, well, you're a real German, so I think they're kind of whatever. So I never felt really comfortable. I always wanted to move away, and I always wanted to be in the States. I spent a lot of vacation time in the United States before, every year actually, and I just love the United States. I just always want to live here. I had friends here. I visit the East Coast, the West Coast, Hawaii, all the different states, and my goal was at some point to move here, and that I did. And that I did basically in 2009. I moved then to Fort Lauderdale actually. So that was kind of the whole story from Germany to here.
Wow.
And then I moved to Fort Lauderdale, and I still had my laboratory in Germany, running with a manager basically, because I wanted to kind of orient myself first, what's possible, what can we do. I started then with a few customers here. I got work from my laboratory sent here to finish, that I finish it, send it back. So we had a good deal rolling here actually, but I also knew that was not forever. I have to kind of make a decision at some point. Am I now doing this for a long time and never grow here, or really am I doing the cut and just jump in here and full power and start my career in the United States? And that was kind of my goal. I got the green card for the States, so that was nice. So I was basically safe here as a resident. And then in 2010, I started together with Zahntechnique, working together with Klaus Lampmann. He founded Zahntechnique in 1970. Now it's actually the oldest existing dental laboratory in Miami.
Wow.
And so he founded the lab, and I started working with him together in 2010. And every year I got more responsibilities in the lab as production manager. So he could basically have the luxury to take more off, and wanted to kind of slide into retirement at some point. And then Danielle and me, we got the opportunity in 2014 to take over the company. And so Klaus and his wife Carly, they retired 2014, and we basically took over. And Danielle and me, we are 50-50 partners. She's a great person in regards to marketing, administrative, and all the stuff. She has her team in the company where they basically take care for everything around our team in production to make us a good living. What means to make sure we can concentrate on production, and Danielle and her team can concentrate on everything around there. Customer service, billing, scheduling, marketing, and all these things, customer relation, HR, all these things, and that works very, very nice. Everybody has his specialty basically to work there.
That's powerful.
Yeah,
that's powerful.
It's very, very powerful.
And with this whole conversation of your training being a German, let's call it German influenced, obviously.
Yeah.
Everything, your foundation was German. And again, probably your wife was saying that because Germans have the stereotype of being completely left in their mind, very engineer and very structured, little motion. Maybe I have German friends as well, so from Frankfurt.
Yeah, so, it's definitely we're very accurate. We definitely double think everything. And I think I'm a good mix. That's how I describe myself. That's the reason why I say, I don't feel really German, but yes, I am German, of course. I have a German background, and I can kind of see myself sometimes, oh, now you're a German, with that reaction. But still, if I compare with the stereotype of German, it's most likely not really. So I think I'm a good hybrid. Yeah, if you see that, basically, that's kind of the right explanation, basically. I'm trying to take the good out of both worlds and combine it, basically. So that's kind of what I'm feeling.
So it's easier said than done, though, because you come from a family of a particular discipline, and obviously we just went over everything that entails, or at the very least, very ambiguously what it's about. You come to the States, you experience something entirely different, which you already shared a little while ago, the foundation of education for a dental technician and everything. So when you come here, how was your process of, let's call it, surfing the wave?
Not literally right now.
Not literally right now.
So it's a phenomenal question, because when I came over here and I started working, everything was first kind of little sunshine around, and everything was kind of exciting, right? And but if you get more and more deeper into that business here, into the business life, I always loved the business life in the States, because you're hustle and you're successful. And that's very different than in Germany sometimes. Germany can be very, it can be demotivating sometimes, because you hustle and you're maybe not successful.
Wow.
Here, usually, that's my experience, also experience what I see on friends. You hustle, you're willing, you work hard, and actually you get to something relatively fast. And that's what I love in the States. And that proved with me too. But after a while, it was an eye-opener. I was stunned after a while, because I saw things happening, especially industry-related, dental-related, where I say, man, how can they do this? And not necessarily in terms of quality, it's more like in terms of administrative things, even from the lawmakers say, well, what, your patient doesn't know what your lab charged you for the crown to the dentist? No, I would never tell my patient what I pay for your crown, basically. So I charge whatever I want to charge to the patient, whatever price I would like to sell the crown for. I said, wow, because in Germany, it's totally different. In Germany, the doctor, the dentist, has to give the patient his invoice and the laboratory invoice. The patient has to pay the doctor both invoices, but then the doctor has to pay the lab. But the patient always knows what the doctor is paying for that crown or for that restoration. On top of this, the patient always knows where the restoration is coming from.
That was my next question.
That's the point.
Wow.
I was stunned as well here.
Wow.
What? The patient don't even know, if they don't ask, they don't get to know where the restoration is coming from. So that was, I think, is a big negative, because it should be for the safety of the patient already, but that's a whole different discussion. It should be actually disclosed. And also, to be fair, I mean, we have customers quite a bit, they actually disclose that. They tell the patient where it's coming from. They also disclose to the patient how much the laboratory is, because what some of our customers do, they actually let the patient pay the lab invoice and let them pay their invoice. So they actually do a very German similar model with their patient, but it's on their free will. It's voluntary. It's not mandated. So that's kind of, I was stunned by that. I didn't know that. Even if I went to the States before I moved here, kind of to explore the dental business a little bit, to see what's actually going on here. Can I imagine working here? I never went into that. I was more practical and more into technical things, you know. So that was kind of very interesting for me to see that. So, man, this is crazy. So I personally still think we have to change it over time, just for also patient safety, to be very, very clear with that. But that kind of was one of the stunners. Yeah. The other stunner was the level of dentistry we're working here. Not saying we have not a good level. We have a phenomenal level in medical, in dentistry, in period. But the levels are like this. You have very high-end, very great dentists, very great technicians. And then we have on the other side, don't want to use the word bottom feeder, but you have a very, very low end, basically. and you have everything in between. So that was also stunning to me to see geographically even. There are areas where I would never go to a dentist. I would never send as a dentist my work to a laboratory, just because, wow, this is crazy how they actually work, how they make something work. There's almost like a third world country. And like I say, it's geographically as well. I mean, if you go more to the south, more Florida or South California or so, you see that there. Not saying they're not phenomenal labs. There are absolute stunning laboratories as well, So that share goes open like not seen in Germany. So that was kind of very interesting. Also, I go back to education. In Germany, to want to be a dental technician, you have to go to the dental technology school. Not here. Here you can learn on the job. And here, theoretically, every car mechanic can open a laboratory in a garage. You just get a license, So that's also was a very new thing for me. In Germany, you have to have a CDT, basically, your own, to even be able or allowed to do a laboratory. So these things I was stunned by that for here. So these things are things I would like to see changing here in the future, and that doesn't mean I want to be bad or I want to think negative about all these laboratories. They don't follow that certain protocol. It's just to actually motivate them to go that route, motivate them to evolve, to improve, motivate them to get better educated. All these things, I think that's very important.
Wow, it's certainly. There's a lot there that I want to ask, but if I could ask one thing, you are currently the president of the FDLA, and I was going to go into that a little later, but since we're talking about this whole, the dichotomy between the US and between Germany or Europe, parts of Europe, right, that have this requirement, let's call it that requirement for a person to perform as a dental technician. Why do you believe that in the United States there has been such a void for that type of demand or regulation of laboratories and dental technicians?
Yeah, I think it's not. I mean, if you look at the United States, the history, it's something historically and culturally different to Europe. It's kind of the new world and the old world, right? And I think it's based on that a little bit. Also, if you look into different occupations, we're not alone by that. I mean, if you look at different occupations, it goes across the board. Yes. If you don't work in a white collar job, it's basically across the board. So I think it's just being more free in that country to be able to do these things, to not being too locked into certain regulations. I think that's a very important thing, which is also a good thing. There are always kind of two sides, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the reasons why that's just different. And that's I excuse that issue, that problem with the new and the old world a little bit. And I don't want to go political, but especially now we see a lot of differences, basically, also different thinkings and different mindsets, basically, where people were thinking a little bit more old school in the new world, but they are so founded in their freedom, in their liberty, in their what that country is founded on and based on, which is an amazing value, but it has to be able to adjust over time, because history doesn't change. History is history, but future and present and future is changing constantly, and we have to make sure we're actually changing with. Otherwise, we were going back, or we left behind. That's the point. So I'm a little bit fearful and a little bit concerned about the future, that we're not left behind. We have to keep up. I think in dental, in a good level, we are keeping up. We are keeping up with industry. We have phenomenal people that work in this industry, absolute phenomenal people, and we're keeping up. But we have to make sure we're still doing this in the future. And other countries changing, so we have to maybe change with them. That's kind of, I think, where I see concerns from my side, that we maybe are sometimes too slow. because we are in our own way sometimes.
Now, when you're saying keeping up with the evolution of the times, I believe it's and I'd like to hear your take on this. There may be the misconception that keeping up with the times is buying new technology.
Yes.
And although that could be part,
Yeah.
I don't personally believe that that's the entire story. What's your opinion on
It's
that?
an absolute fantastic question. I think I was waiting the whole day for that question, because that's basically the philosophy Zahntechnique, or where we're working with Zahntechnique, is based on. It's not buying new technology. The future is not literally going more digital and even more digital. That doesn't work like that. We have to be able to tackle things the analog and the traditional way first before we even can think digital. And I think that's a huge problem in the United States. It's many laboratory owners, they do not have maybe the founded education that they want to run a lab, which is fine. They're hiring the people, and they're buying a lot of expensive technology equipment, or digital equipment especially, and they think, well, now we are a full digital lab. In my mind, a full digital lab does not work, because I personally want to do every case I'm getting in. So I want to be able to tackle every single case, from very complex to very easy, the way the case has to get tackled. Okay? Not the way I would like to tackle the case. Now I see it more like I want to utilize my equipment successfully, that I can finish that case successfully, doesn't matter what. That means I have to combine digital equipment with analog. I have to combine digital knowledge with analog knowledge, with traditional dentistry knowledge, to be able to get to the final result the best way, the most efficient way, the most economic way, and the best way for the patient. That's, I think, is something what sometimes is lost in this industry, what we have to try to either get back or educate better. Yeah, so digital equipment, there's no way around. I love digital. I love scanners, I love printers, milling machines, the material, it's outstanding. It's fun, it brings you to the next step, but also I love to combine these things. And that's something what's, I think, unique at Zahntechnique. That's one of the reasons we don't have that traditional American departmental structures in laboratories, what you see. And we don't have a waxer, we don't have a finisher, we don't have a glazer, or what you have there in this kind of in these how do you say, conveyor belt manufacturing facilities. Basically, now we have dental technicians that work together as a team. So because if you look in complex dentistry, especially implants, you have nowadays materials combined. So you have materials like polymers, acrylics, composite combined with ceramics on one restoration. So you have to be able to work together. And I'm consulting laboratories, I'm educating, I'm speaking. So if I go in a bigger operation and I see how they work, they want to do these cases, but they tackle these cases in their departmental structure, what means, well, this guy is designing it and milling it. This guy is doing now all the composite work or the polymer work on the case, and then goes to the next department and they finish the ceramic or do the ceramic, and then there's the implant person who puts everything together. They don't talk. That's a big problem. So they do all the protocol work, which is fine. It will never get to a high-end finished result. You get some kind of result, yeah, but that's the result that comes back as a remake, or which falls apart in a patient's mouth. Because a lot of people do not put their minds, or not people, operations, put not a human mindset into this. I personally think we don't have to forget we don't work for robots. We work for human beings. Our patients are humans. And I think the best quality, the best result for a human being is fabricated by a human being with help of digital. To be more consistent, more efficient, more economic, and have a better higher standard in consistency. I think that's a very important point.
Wow, that is very powerful. And I as I go to shows and like Chicago every
Yeah.
year. It's a phenomenal show. We were talking about it. I realized that I hear a lot of conversations about, oh, did you see this machine? Did you see that machine?
Yeah.
And only in those conference rooms we can hear the conversation of technique and of consistency and of the foundation. And it could be, and I don't know if that is the case, but it could be that digital could be overly sensationalized. And then we forget about that marriage that you're talking about between the analog, which is the natural touch,
Yeah.
and the digital. As you mentioned, I really like the way you expressed it. You said getting digital to help, not digital, I push a couple buttons, enter, you
That's
do the
the point.
work.
Yes.
Which is very interesting because I find that with the whole conversation that brought us to here of the evolution, I find that I have spoken to some people that the misconception is that the evolution is machines do it all. And with hearing your take on that and listening to different dental professionals, I find that it couldn't be further from the truth.
That I agree with that, and that's the whole problem we're running into. I agree that machines, robots, digital dentistry will take over more and more things. In the same time, we need more and more better educated technicians and dentists to actually work with these results. That's kind of where I see an issue that we're running into. We have computer guys, they maybe are cool designers, but they have no idea from dental. So they have to work first some kind of as a ceramist or wax or whatever to actually put that mindset into that design they're designing on a CAD station right now. So for example, my designer, my CAD-CAM technician, one of them, she's a ceramist. So she knows what she's designing for, right?
Exactly.
She knows how she has to finish the green state zirconia, as an example, to make it basically go for our ceramic team. So they work together. I see my ceramists, they do majorly ceramics, and me too. We are teaming up in CAD-CAM every day to look into design, to discuss a case, and then everybody goes back and we're working on that case, and then we're combining it together again. I see my person who does most of the acrylic work sitting in CAD-CAM with my CAD-CAM technician where they discuss a digital denture. Yeah, and he helps them finishing the denture on a digital side before he then actually gets it and does the physical polishing and composite work and glazing and all what has to get done basically. So this is very, very important to be able to combine these knowledges and technologies and hands-on work basically. That's the point.